Good evening and welcome to another Lower League Lingo. It's episode 29. Oh, we're getting older each week. We are looking at Tier 5. We've got our first ever champions. Yes, you can see the man smiling below us. I'm sure we'll get to that imminently on the other side of this. Always want that song to carry on. Even though, lovely to have you all with us. No, John has not got younger and grown more hair. We have replaced him, as we have done before previously. He's back with us today. I'm very pleased to have you. Kieran, how are you doing, sir? Can't hear you without the music. Let's just take that off for you.
There we go.
Try that one again.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, guys. Really enjoyed my last time on here. So, can't wait to get stuck in and talking again.
Excellent. Well, looking forward to that. And of course, there he is, the smiling man himself, Mr. Gareth. How are you doing, sir? He's also not unmuted himself. Wow, that's 2 for 2. That's new.
I thought to myself after Kieran didn't do it, I need to unmute myself, and then didn't. It's a professional outlet here. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I would like to see John Foster get a hair system and let's get it permed for him. And then see Kieran and John side by side. Or let's stick Barry in there as well and go 3 for 3. That would be fun. Maybe in the off season we need something to do on these Wednesday nights, so that can be a couple of weeks.
Okay, we can tell Gareth's excited, so that's great news. And it promises to be a good show, I am sure. So, hey, let's kick off with it, shall we? As we so often do, little bit of a change with how we are looking at things, but still the same old league tables, and we are going to be kicking off with a little matter of the Northwest Regional Football League, which has, of course, got the big balloon. It's the second balloon. We had one when we looked at the WNL show last week as AFC Bournemouth won the Southwest Division 1. We've got another one, and this time it goes to the mighty Wythenshawe at the top of the Northwest, who will find themselves in the Northern Premier, Northern Division 1 of the WNL. Quite the Northern Premier. That's the year after, isn't it, Gareth? Let's take them over to you. Take us through the Northwest, and obviously congratulations as well.
Thank you. I'll kind of start with that because it's been 2 years now since myself and James, who's the manager, and a whole host of players moved over to Wythenshawe. And at the time, there was kind of discussions, you've just been promoted into the National League. Why do you want to take a step back? And kind of a lot of noise around the decision. And there was some noise last season as well, kind of when we were winning games convincingly and so on. And this year we kind of carried that form on, and although kind of the score lines haven't quite been the same as they were last year, we've still scored 90 plus goals throughout the season. You can see they're not lost a game yet. Touch wood. 3 games to go. That will still be a 0 in that column come the end of it. But I think what's been really nice about this is that it's been a 2-year process. It's not as if we've got a lot of the same girls that are still here now that were here last year. There is a good core of them, but we've added quite a lot, and there's been kind of some squad movement. And I think if you look at the team that starts for us now, it's only about 50% of the team that was starting at the beginning of last season. There has been quite a lot of change and players coming in and players going out and so on. And it's been a whole process, and the club have been fantastic. And I think we talk quite a lot when the board and the club aren't necessarily giving the support and the backing. But yeah, we feel so supported by the chair and by the club, and that's fantastic. And really excited about what next season can bring. There's still a job to do. We've still got Bury this weekend at Gig Lane. That should be a really kind of good occasion for us. We've still got to play Mancunian Unity. We've got kind of specific targets we want to achieve, and just because the title is wrapped up doesn't necessarily mean that all of the targets have been achieved. So, still all to play for, and there's still all to play for elsewhere in the league as well. Mancunian Unity dropped points at the weekend against Crew. Played them in back-to-back games. Unity won the first game a fortnight ago, and then over the weekend drew 0-0. So they're dropping points. 3 games to go, 5 points off second place, including one of those games against Withenshaw. The other games they've got are against one of them is against Salford, and I believe the other one is Bury. So you would expect on paper for Unity to finish second, but that's by no means a guarantee now that they've dropped points. Because and the reason that's not a guarantee is Salford. They've got 3 games left. They're scrapping for their lives as well. They need to win a game. One of those games is against Mancunian Unity. Like we say, I imagine on paper you would expect Unity to win that, but stranger things have happened. You wouldn't have expected Hull to get something from Forest the weekend, but that they did, and when teams are scrapping towards the bottom end of the table, some funky things can happen, and Salford will definitely be hoping that something does. If it doesn't happen for them against Unity, it's not the end of the world. They play Crew at home this coming weekend, so that they're looking at that as an opportunity for them to hopefully chase a win. And then the following weekend, they play Fleetwood at home. So before they face Unity away, 2 big home games against Crew and Fleetwood. And I think if you were to look at that on paper, you would expect, if they were to get that win, one of those 2 games would be where that win's going to come from. FC United, their season is done. So we know that going, with the caveat of barring any further points deductions, we know that it's going to be one of FC United or Salford who will be dropping down into the Division 1, north or south, depending on which of goes down. FC United going to the north and Salford will go into the south. I know that only one team to go down. That's because Blackburn Community folded at the start of the season. So they will be replaced with the upward movement from both the north and the south. And then, obviously Salford FC United will fill that gap. So there's lots to play for. There's kind of positions to play for. Feels as though those kind of smaller positions mean a little bit less because there's no prize money attached to it. You kind of see in leagues where there is some prize money that you would kind of see Crew, West, Bury, Fleetwood kind of fighting out for 6th spot because there would be money attached. But obviously at this level, that's not the case. I think FC United have a cup game replay this evening. Actually, currently right now are playing against Ellesmere Port, who are in Division 1 South, and that's a quarter-final. The winner of that will go on to face Accrington from the Division 1 North. So that'll be one semi-final. The other semi-final is Mancunian Unity against Darwin this weekend. I believe that is pretty much everything to come this weekend. Of any note, I'll just double check. There are plate matches as well. So Curzon Ashton will play Preston North End in a plate semi-final, and Fleetwood Town will play Workington in a plate semi-final. And I believe that's everything. Let me just double check. But it's been a really interesting season. Like I've said, kind of throughout the year, we kind of have looked at this as being a kind of really competitive league. Darwin were thereabouts. Times Unity have always been a threat towards the top. We've had kind of Bury and Fleetwood down there in that relegation scrap, and they pulled themselves away. Crew have been bottom, but they've managed to drag themselves up. FC United for a long time were there flirting with it, got that points deduction, but then got that hugely important win against Bury a few weeks ago to lift them out of it. Now Salford are there. My only kind of thing that I would say is it does feel a bit disappointing, and this is, postponements and things happen, but for Salford to have 3 games left, FC United to have none left, Darwin to have played all 20 of their games and now sat waiting, looking at what Unity managed to do at the weekend, to see whether they're going to finish second or third, or it just kind of feels a bit meh as a way to kind of finish it. But I don't think Salford will feel meh if they get that win that will lift them up out of that relegation zone. So yeah, it's a hugely interesting year. Not over yet. Still 3 games to go, and lots to play for.
No, for sure. Listen, I think you're right, but it's a very interesting one because I feel a bit like you. I feel like it comes from a fairness point of view that actually the season should all end on the same day, just purely so that people know, this is what they've got to do. Like you say, it is a bit strange, but equally, when I was going through all of the 8 leagues, the possible permutations of every single league at the moment is just obscene when you start looking at them, because genuinely, there was moments where I was walking around getting a cup of tea and I'm thinking, oh my God, that's amazing. Like that could happen. That would be such a story. So it's interesting. You talk about those things and indeed looking at the bottom. I mean, that was mad. I was all ready to put Salford down as relegated, but of course they're not, like you say, because FC United and Manchester with those 3 vital points, and it is a strange one. If I was putting money on it, I would suggest that Salford might get those 3 points against Crewe, but again, they could be in the weirdest of situations where they win against Crewe, and then the fact they've got to play Fleetwood and Mancunian Unity, it depends how well they do defensively, because there's even that scenario where they could win the game against Crewe, but then ship a load of goals in 2 games and then get relegated on goal difference. So, like I say, that's a very strange league, but certainly one that we will keep an eye on. Go on.
Just one thing to add. Darwin are not playing their semi-final, so Unity have got a walkover through to the final of the League Cup. That was what I was checking. So yeah, Unity is straight into the final. We've got a quarter-final being played this evening for a semi-final to be played on Sunday, I think, or at some point. I don't know if they can add it in for Sunday because of timings. But yeah, we've got one team in the final and a team playing a quarter-final tonight. It's all a bit crazy, the League Cup. But whatever the final is, should end up being an entertaining game. Unity will definitely fancy themselves to pick up some silverware, which I guess would. I think they will be disappointed to have not challenged for the league closer, and for it to have been kind of done with 4 games to go. But I would be surprised if they're not there or thereabouts again next year. It just depends which teams come down, because if Fylde come down, I expect them to want an immediate return, and would probably suggest it'll be one of those 2 teams that goes up. Which will be an interesting fight again next year, but we'll look at that in more detail next season.
I was just going to say, keep your powder dry for that one. That might well be one of our topics as we move ever closer to May. But there we go. So yes, well done. Congratulations once again. And we switch paces. This is where we changed ever so slightly. So you don't have to listen to me on the regular. We are going to have a quick look at the South West Premier, because obviously Stu is not with us this evening. You will see there is already one relegated side. AFC St Austell cannot turn around the joys that they are currently stuck in with only 15 points available, and they are 17 points adrift of Poole Town. So as sad as it is for them, that is the end for AFC St Austell. But there are still stories to be told, because you've got Bishop Lydiard with 2 games in hand over Poole Town. And of course, if they were to win those 2 games, they would be on 14 points. So very much game on in that respect. But it is between Poole and Bishop's Lydiard. Pucklechurch are looking safe as, so that is good news for them. Looking up at the top, you've got Marine Academy Plymouth. They are top of the table but haven't played since we last spoke to you. That'll be something to do with the fact they played 18 of their 20 games already, and so therefore able to have a few more rest days. Big news for them is they've got people chasing them, Torquay and Sherborne, both with games in hand, 3 to be precise. If Torquay win their 3, they are a point clear, and if Sherborne win their 3, they will be 2 points behind. So really, really big possibilities for what could be happening at the top. Just taking a look at the last game of the season, just so you know, for Marine, it'll be their last game of the season. They will have to play Sherborne. So it is not an easy finish for them at all. But some big results. Torquay getting their win against Bishop's Lydiard. Bishop's Lydiard have pretty much been the whipping girls of this league for the last 3 games. Hasn't gone well. They've also lost to Ilminster and to AEK Bocco. So not ideal preparations for these guys. The match against Forest Green Rovers for AFC St Austell was postponed. So that doesn't look ideal for them, but I would not be surprised looking at some of the points deductions that are happening if we saw a few more walkovers given, which is a shame because we do see this quite a lot. I think Sherborne was the other thing to talk about. They were undefeated in the last 2 games they played, 1-1 and drawn 1. They drew against AEK Bocco, which was perhaps an unexpected one for them, and that's where they will be ruining missed points potentially. But a good win against Frampton, winning by the odd goal in 7 against them. I think really the other big things to throw out there are the matches that are coming up. You've got Torquay. They will be up against Pucklechurch this weekend. Forest Green will be playing Sherborne. Poole will have to host Frampton and will be looking to be 3 points further adrift of Bishop's Lydiard. But the following week, Bishop's Lydiard will host Marine, so you can almost guarantee that will be 3 points for Marine, which will be, again, a bit of a nightmare for Bishop's Lydiard. Ilminster will be at home to Torquay, and Sherborne should be playing AFC St Austell if they can muster a side. Marine can beat Torquay in order to win the league. So as the running goes in for Marine, they will have to play Torquay. If they do, then Marine could see them, well, they would see themselves as the champions. But if Torquay win, they will go 1 point clear of them, and that is absolutely massive as far as Torquay are concerned. So that title race really is going to go to the end. And of course, if Bishop's Lydiard lose to Marine and Poole beat Frampton, it's not looking good. But Bishop's Lydiard will need to play Poole. They will be 9 points adrift. Of course, if they can then beat Poole, they will have 2 games left to go, whereas Poole will not, because Poole will have played all of their matches. Now, guess who Bishop's Lydiard's last 2 games are, chaps?
It couldn't be, could it? It couldn't be.
It's AFC St Austell. They've got to play 2 games against the team at the bottom of the league, so they could very well, if they could just get that win against Poole, they could pull it back, be level on points, and do it on goal difference as well. So seriously, the relegation at the moment, 2 lots of goal difference could potentially be what happens. Obviously, I'm milking this to the extreme. Knowing my luck, Poole will just beat Bishop's Lydiard, and then AFC St Austell will pull something out of their cap, and that'll be the end of that. But we're going to try and egg these stories on, put a little bit of excitement in there. So it's all to play for, quite literally, here at the Southwest Premier. So there we go. That's that one. Right, over to Kieran, who's sat there blissfully silent, listening to us 2 drone on. We're going to give you the East Midlands first of all, Kieran, to have a little look at. There's 2 relegation spots which we already know of that are taken, but what's happening with the rest of the league?
Yeah, so this is a league that, to be honest, I didn't really know a whole lot about before I started doing a bit of research into it. And as you can see, it's a pretty exciting one actually, and one to definitely keep an eye on going forward into the back end of this season. So we'll start at the top. Obviously, Sheffield, as you can see, topping the table at the moment. Pretty historic side. Obviously, if you know a bit about the men's team, I believe they're the oldest football club in the country, potentially in the world. I'm pretty sure they are in the country anyway. So definitely a historic club as a whole. And they've been up higher. They've been in Tier 4. They were my team, Starbridge's first ever game that we played in Tier 4, which we did end up losing, but it's still a historic memory to have gone there and played them. So it's a club that I definitely remember for all the right reasons. And they are on a really, really brilliant run of form at the moment. They have lost only one game in 12 games. In their last 12, and that one loss is only on penalties in their county cup. So yeah, they're definitely on a fantastic run. Similarly, Chesterfield chasing them only 2 points behind, with the exact same goal difference as well. They are also on a brilliant run. They were only formed in 2022 and won promotion in their first season from Tier 7. So they've gone really from strength to strength to end up here in Tier 5. And the most interesting thing about both of these teams is that they still have to play each other twice. So the first one, Chesterfield play Sheffield away on the 13th of April, and then the reverse fixture is on the 25th of April. So if you're in the region, definitely get down to those. Could very well be the title deciding games. I'm sure they're going to be massive, massive spectacles. Looking slightly further down, Rotherham not completely out of it. However, they're sort of peeling away now. They did lose on the weekend to Chesterfield 5-1. So you would have thought Sheffield and Chesterfield have just made that gap slightly too big for Rotherham to catch now. But, obviously with those two games, the top two playing each other, it could still end up going anyone's way. And then, as you can see, there's a lot of teams sort of in that middle of the table region. From 4th to 7th, not really anything to play for. Obviously, 7th in this league seemingly does get you relegated. So Anstey Nomads will be trying their best to work their way out of that. But looking slightly further down, in that 6th position, we have St Joseph's Rockware of Worksop, which is an incredible name for a football club. I have tried to Google it. I don't know what the St Joseph's Rockware part means. There's no information on that at all, but I do like the name. They're actually formed as Worksop Town, but Worksop Town themselves threatened to fine them £350 every game unless they change their name. So they ended up doing that. And they've still got a lot of games to play as well compared to some of the other teams. So they could very well pull away from that relegation equation. And as we mentioned before, Anstey Nomads are the team that could save themselves so far this season. Not a whole lot of games to play. I think it will be. Or have they played all their games? Have I calculated that wrong in my head? I think they have played all their games, haven't they? So unless Worksop lose every game and slot in because of goal difference, then that would be that. Then in my head they had a few more games to play, but
does your SJR have to play?
I don't actually know off the top of my head. If anyone wants to grab that,
first game they've got on the 6th of April is Sheffield.
Okay,
and then the game the weekend after that is Mansfield away.
Okay, yeah,
and look
brilliant.
at that goal difference. It's only 3.
Tests. Yeah, that could very easily swing the other way then. So again, it's something to keep an eye on for this league. A little bit about the teams that are already relegated. First of all, Nottingham Trent Uni, one of the most successful uni teams in the country, and the only uni team that actually play in the Women's FA Cup itself. So it's kind of disappointing to see a team with a niche, going down. You never really like to see that. I imagine because it's a uni team as well, they probably have a lot of chopping and changing of the team and the whole infrastructure. So yeah, it's a shame to see them go down, but hopefully they perform well and come back up next season. And also Baseford at the very bottom. They have been docked 3 points, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why. There seems to be no sort of information floating around as to why that is. But yeah, as you can see, they've won the 3 games, but only amounted 6 points this season. So I'm not sure what's happened there. They changed their manager in January. and yeah, I presume that was because of the poor league form and the position they find themselves in the table. However, it's not all completely doom and gloom for the Baseford fans. They have the chance to actually become back-to-back County Cup winners with a game against Mansfield, who are obviously also in this league later this season. So potentially, it's not all sad times over in Baseford. In terms of standout players, there is one player that has stood out from the stats that I've delved into, and that's Emma Pollard at Stamford. She's scored 16 goals in 15 games, winning 9 Player of the Match awards along the way. You can't really argue with that. It's fantastic numbers, and for a team that's in 5th, potentially she's gearing herself up to a step up in the tiers with performances like that. And yeah, I think that's covered the East Midlands really from me.
Has indeed. I can confirm that Basford fielded an ineligible player, and that
right there we go.
Points. That was way back on October 2024 that deduction was given. So, yeah, bad news for Basford. But let's be honest, even without it, they still went down.
Yeah,
so it's not something that's gonna be something they can lean on, I'm afraid, in that one. But yeah, I mean, honestly, that relegation one, I'll keep an eye on that one, because if Sheffield stick a few past them, then that game against Mansfield becomes huge. It's literally must not lose. So, yeah, huge, but well done. Yeah, good stuff there, Kieran. Thank you very much indeed. So, over to me we go again with the London and South East Regional. And my goodness, we said that these guys were coming out on the outside, Fulham and Saltdean, and they are certainly starting to do that. Dorking falling by the wayside there. That's the side that is owned by the son of the legendary George Best, Callum. Very interesting what is happening to their side. They were right up there, but some poor results have left Dorking just outside of this opportunity, really. Dartford setting the pace, no doubt about that. But despite a 10-point gap, both Fulham and Saltdean can overtake them with the games in hand. Fulham can make it to a massive 56, which is huge. And Saltdean, of course, can make it to just 52. So Dartford could still finish in 3rd, but it would require some interesting results to happen there. Dartford doing well, though. They have won their last 2 games. They won 6-1 away to Barking and 2-1 away to Sutton. So they're doing everything they can do. They're not losing a whole lot. They've only lost the 1 game so far. But Fulham, unbeaten. And it certainly helps when they go off to beat Dorking 3-1 away from home and Ebbsfleet 6-0 at home. Saltdean, meanwhile, winning their games as well. At home to Millwall 4-2 and away to Ashford, they won 3-0. So those results for those sides, just throwing them up. Dorking did manage a win against Haywards Heath, but that is not necessarily something to be proud of at this moment in time, because Haywards Heath are having an absolute shocker. Have not yet managed to win a game, just the 1 point scored, but most of them taken away, because again, they are one of those teams that are struggling to put sides together, and therefore there are a few walkovers being given. Looking down towards the bottom, Haywards Heath, it's not looking good for them. Amazingly, mathematically, they're still not gone. They will be by the next game if they haven't managed to get any points, or if Sport London continue the absolute miracle work that they are doing. Ashford United have dropped down, but Sport London, with a win again against Haywards Heath 3-2, it's just pulled them outside of the relegation zone. Again, they've had points deducted. Now, Sport London, amazingly, and again, this is something that's blown my mind, they've got the 3rd highest goal scorer in the league at the moment in Kimberly Costa, which is amazing. 17 goals from 18 games. That will include some cup games. It won't include the county cup games. That's the 3rd highest goal scorer in the entire league, and she's currently in a side that are battling for survival, which again I just find that absolutely incredible. So huge things happening around there. Sutton have been docked points again for not fulfilling a fixture, so they have lost a point. That loss of a point has meant that they are not quite safe yet until they manage to either A, get a point, or Ashford drop some points. But anywhere below Sutton could well still find themselves in danger. It won't be New Haven. They're far too far ahead. Let's be real about this. It's between Sport London and Ashford. But who will it be? Well, we've got some big games coming up. So Fulham, first of all, we were playing New Haven. So that you would imagine would be some more points for Fulham. Haywards Heath are due to play Saltdean. That could well be another walkover. Sport London, love this. Their next game on the 6th is against Ashford. So we will have a much better clue after this weekend as to whether or not we should expect Ashford to be escaping or Sport London, especially with those games in hand. If Sport London can get that win, that will put them 4 points clear, with Ashford still having 2 games in hand. And you would have to think that might just be enough for Sport London. Dorking will be playing Sutton as well, which is, of course, quite important, because Sutton, if they can get that point, will guarantee safety. If not, Sutton can always get it on the 9th of April, win their little midweek game against Fulham. Or would they? And then next week, we have got Dartford against Saltdean, huge up there at the top. Haywards Heath meant to play Fulham. You would imagine that's another 3 points for Fulham. Dorking will be playing Ashford, and Sport London will need to play New Haven. So the next 2 games for Sport London, very winnable, and around teams that are around them. So my money would probably be on Sport London to just about nick this, purely because of the fact they have a lady called Kimberly Costa. Other good goal scorers, Dartford, obviously, with their 55 goal difference. Amy Russ, 21 from 24. And again, really interesting. Fulham don't even make the top 3 on this one, because the next one is Laura Bunton, who plays for Barking, who scored 29 from 22. Laura Bunton is someone I've seen play. She is a pacey player. She's a powerful player. And she knows where the goal is, as this has shown. Now, again, a lot of these goals may well have come through cup competitions. But again, you look at Barking, 10 wins, 8 defeats, and their goal difference is -1. But they've got the top goal scorer in the league. I ask you, gents, how in the hell does this happen? Like, the top 3 goal scorers, and you would expect one of them to be from the top teams. But yeah, Barking there in 5th, not even with a positive goal difference, got the top goal scorer. Sport London looking like they might get relegated, 3rd highest goal scorer. It's absolutely bizarre. But there we go. Fulham, what they have got is 58 assists recorded. They've got the top 5 players, with the top one being Madison Parsonson's. And she scored a few goals as well, 32 goal involvements. And I just want to put out a shout out to anyone who fills in full time. It'd be really lovely if you started thinking about your assists, because when you're trying to build up these sorts of things and you're trying to get these records, I send them to our secretary all the time. Like, here's the assist, here's who scored the goal, here's the time they scored it, because you can put all this stuff on full time, and it just creates such a good picture. And it honestly will elevate the sort of analysis and the sort of reporting that can be given about your team. So if you can get assists put onto full time, it's well worth it. Worth it.
Sorry, Barry, just to come in there. It's also something that players really like. Players really like to see that, they've not scored the goal, but the corner they've taken that was headed in, or the cross that they've put into the box, they love seeing that. And the amount of times this season that I've had players walk off the pitch and say to me, "Did you get my assist for that goal?" And sometimes I completely miss it because I'm busy tweeting something, and then something happens, and I just don't get a chance to see it, or there's a manager stood in my way and I can't quite see. Various things happen and I miss things, but yeah, players absolutely love it. And I think it's a similar thing in our league. There's not huge amounts of clubs that I think put assists on. It seems to be, if you look at the top 10 assists, there is 8 of them from Wythenshawe, one from Mancunian Unity and one from Curzon Ashton. So, yeah, it looks as though it's primarily us that are kind of putting assists on. Or maybe I'm just generous with deciding what counts as an assist and what doesn't. I did tell a player once this season that if they're fouled for a free kick and then score it, no, it doesn't count as an assist as well. You can just have the goal.
So you give an assist if they are fouled for the penalty and the penalty is scored?
Surely not.
You get the points on FPL for it.
You are as bad as the girls. Because they say this to me. Why don't I get an assist for the penalty, Barry? What are you playing at? Well,
Never.
it's not an assist, love. Yes, it is. It is on the Fantasy Premier League. Well, is it according to Opta? No, it isn't. So that's not what I'm afraid. Honest, it's a wonder I've still got a job. But yeah, there we go. So no.
What do you do for own goals? If it's goal bound, who do you give it to?
What, if it's an own goal?
Yeah, so if they take a shot and it's probably maybe going in, defender sticks a leg out, kicks into the roof of the net.
So obviously we have VO and we also have a GoPro behind the goal, so I can always check it afterwards just to make sure. But if it's going towards the goal and then it deflects off of someone, just like you would do in the Premier League, that's their goal. Every time. And as the goals, and I agree with them on this one, they rightly say the person who scored the own goal doesn't want it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely better if you can give it to the attacker, 100%.
That's my take on it as well. Is one of you wants the goal, one of you doesn't. So I'll be.
Correct. If the ball's flying towards the corner flag.
If it's going wide and it's an absolute bullet header into the back of the net from a corner or something, you're not having it. But if it's a shot that's in the general vicinity of the goal, probably on target, I'll give it you.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Absolutely that. So yes, fill in your assists, gang. It would be absolutely wonderful if you did that, because honestly, it will just elevate women's football even further. Right, that's that one. Oh, I did mean to add to that. Sorry, Dartford are also in the League Cup final, so they do have that to look forward to, even if they do get caught by Fulham and Saltdean. And they've also got a County Cup, I think a County Cup final, could be a semi-final as well. So some big stuff to look forward to there. Now, we were having a little chat conversation, weren't we, Gareth? And we were talking about Pontyland. And obviously, this is the moment for you to enlighten the world with what's happened there, because although it looks like Chester the Street have dropped down, they didn't have, it was only because they played one game fewer than Bradford on this occasion.
Yeah, so this is a real title race, and I genuinely can't call it. Pontyland are top, with one game left to play. Their one game left to play is Bradford City. Now, both Bradford City and Chester the Street were able to close the gap on Pontyland over the weekend because Pontyland lost against Chester the Street. So their final two games of the season were Bradford, Chester the Street. It looks unlikely, not beyond the realms of possibility, unlikely that it'll be them that wins the title, but they can still have a say in where it goes. Less of a say now that Chester Street have beaten them, but Bradford will absolutely be looking to clear that hurdle for sure. Chester Street's game in hand is happening now, currently, against Wallsend, and I will check what is happening based on Twitter. And it's currently 0-0, unless there's a goal that no one's tweeted about. But currently 0-0. So if it stays like that, Bradford will have the advantage going into the final 5 games of the season. It seems like a lot for the first weekend of April, but they will have the advantage going into those final 5 games. If Chester Street win, they will have the advantage going into those final 5 games. There's so much to play for. Obviously, the winners get promoted, and that's what everybody is going to be looking out for. Chester Street's final games after today is the reverse fixture away to Wallsend this weekend. Midweek next week, so on the 9th, they're away to Sunderland West End ladies. Then they have a massive gap until the 27th, so a fortnight break, where they host Hull United ladies, in theory. But then is the big one. Penultimate game of the season. Bradford host Chester Street. And then Chester Street finish off against Alnwick Town. But there is that one huge game. Bradford's last few, just to run through them. Pontyland this weekend, then Alnwick, then York Railway Institute. So both teams have a match against relegation candidates. In theory, both of those sides have struggled of late fielding sides, but Hull did field a side against Bradford and lost 7-1 recently. Then Alnwick, but Bradford's final game of the season is at home to Chester Street. So 11th of May, I believe that game is. Yeah, the 11th of May, it's going to be Bradford against Chester Street. And you imagine that will be the title decider, really. If Chester Street drop points tonight and Bradford win all their games, that game will win them the title. If Chester Street win tonight, they'll move a point clear, and then that will give Bradford the opportunity to then leapfrog them, and then will mean that Chester Street will then have to go into that final game of the season and get a win from that. But yeah, I feel like that could be where it all comes down to. Pontyland will obviously be looking to get that win over Bradford this weekend. In terms of the relegation battle, like we say, both Hull United and York Railway Institute have had difficulty in fielding teams of late, hence those points deductions. York Railway Institute have only managed to field a team once since the 9th of February, and that was a 1-1 draw against Hull United. The other 4 of those games have all been walkovers, but fingers crossed they can manage to find teams for the last couple of games. They play Harrogate Town next weekend, so not the 6th, but the 13th, and then the week after on the 20th, we'll play Bradford City. And Hull United, who obviously we mentioned before, will play Chester Street. Their other game, they play Spennymoor Town this coming weekend. But they do have a County Cup final, the East Riding County Cup against AFC Preston Ladies. So I think we all know how finals go. Availability in competitions like that tends to be higher. It's been a pretty torrid season for them, been a difficult season, but there is the opportunity on the 1st of May to finish on a high with that cup final, and I suspect they will be desperate to do so. I just hope that it's not a case of which team was able to field a team the most that dictates the relegation. The other thing I would say is I hope that whichever team stays up and the team that goes down, I hope that in August when we start again, both teams are still there with squads. I think that's always the concern when there are teams that don't are unable to fulfill fixtures, really struggle with fielding a squad. I think there's been several years where teams have pulled out. I know in the Northwest Premier, a couple of seasons ago, it was Merseyrail that withdrew from the competition. This year, it was Blackburn Community that withdrew from the competition. It's tricky, and yeah, I think that is one of the issues. There's lots and lots of positivity in women's football at the moment. One of the big issues that we have is the longevity and survival of clubs. Then there really should be some sort of I don't know how we do it, but it's a real shame to see clubs going bust, folding teams, etc. and so on. It's frustrating when it's a kind of a lack of support from the board, but when it's lack of players, that is particularly disheartening.
I would agree. Fun fact: Chester the Street Town are, as it stands, streaming their match against Wolves NBC, so you can watch that on YouTube. But that's the good news. The bad news, and I'm afraid it is bad news, is that they don't have the score put up there. So you can watch it, but knowing who it is who scored, a bit harder to find out.
According they updated 22 minutes ago, and there is no mention of a goal as
No.
yet.
So there we go. So I do have it. The game is on, but yeah, God knows if I'll ever actually be able to tell you what's happened on that one. But really good to see a tier 5 side throwing out onto YouTube the match for people to watch should they wish to. It'd be lovely to see more clubs doing that as well. So well done, Chester Le Street. Okay, over to the Southern Premier again now, and not a huge amount to really sort of run through on this one. Badshot and Chelsea were down the last time that we spoke. Badshot maybe were just about down, not quite. It has been confirmed now that those two teams cannot pull it back around. So relegation, not really a massive thing. Reading will be delighted that their 3-3 draw against Woodley is the thing that saved them effectively, because that helped to put the gap that they needed. But they did also have a massive defeat against Oxford City. They lost 10-0, and that has helped Oxford to cement their 3rd place position, although AFC Portchester could well be after them. Wycombe Wanderers are trying very hard to catch Ascot. The problem they've got is that Ascot, without even playing, have remained top of the league. They're 2 points clear. They've got 2 games in hand. To be honest, as Stu said a couple of weeks ago, he would imagine Ascot should win this one. And of course, if they manage to win their 2 games in hand, they will be champions. So big things to happen, and both of those games are coming up. They've got a game against Chelsea this weekend. Again, with all respect to Chelsea, you would imagine Ascot, having not lost a game so far this season in the league, you'd expect them to beat Chelsea and make that a 5-point gap. Wycombe will be facing Winchester as well, so they very well could win it and return it back to the 2-point gap. But of course, Woodley will then play Ascot on the 13th, and that is a big game. I don't imagine Woodley will beat Ascot either. So I'm anticipating that the next time we talk, there is a 5-point gap between the two teams, and that will be unassailable because Wycombe will only have 1 game left. So that's kind of where the Southern Premier sits. And so I'm not going to sit here and harp on about that. I'm going to throw it back over to Kieran, where he can talk about, and I've got to be honest, I was surprised that John Foster was not coming on today, because again, one of our group chat discussions was about the mighty Kidderminster Harriers potentially going 5 points clear of Lye Town, and that is exactly what happened, Kieran.
Yes, yeah, I am going to be sounding like John, so I apologise if you've heard it all before here. But yeah, Kidderminster Harriers, obviously the standouts in this league so far. If you don't know the whole story with Kidderminster, Andy Fisher, previously of Stourbridge, has gone over to Kidderminster, who are sort of local rivals. And he's brought a lot of the girls that he's managed from Stourbridge to there, and added a few more bits of quality there as well. And he's done really, really well. Kidderminster were typically sort of a mid-table team, and obviously, as you can see, he's brought them right up to the top of the table this season. They've done really, really well. They're also in a county cup final, so potentially a chance for the double if they do go on and win this title. That's against Worcester City Reserve, so obviously Worcester City of Tier 4. I don't know how good their reserves are, but you would imagine that Kiddy go into that game being favourites. And yeah, a bit more on Kiddy. Like they've just got a fantastic side. Some of the players they've brought in and some of the players that Andy Fisher himself has been able to attract aren't Tier 5 quality. He's got players that could easily compete at Tier 4, potentially even Tier 3 standard. But also he's got a young squad. He's got players that potentially are Tier 5 standard at the moment, but definitely have a higher ceiling. So it's very much a project. It's an important thing to have these young players growing with the side, and it's definitely going to be an exciting one to watch in years to come as well. But also just behind them, it's been neck and neck all season. They've started to slowly peel away Lytown, but yeah, they've also been really, really good. They've always been that side that's in and around that top spot, but just never ever got over that line. And it looks like from what you can see on the screen, it's not going to be this season either, unless something drastic changes. And that something drastic maybe tomorrow night, Thursday the 3rd. This is the big one in this league. Kidderminster travel to Lye to play that game, and it's just going to be an incredible occasion for the Midlands, for women's football. Yeah, I can't wait for it. I'm going to be heading down. So yeah, who knows what's going to happen? You'd imagine Kiddy may edge it, but yeah, anything can happen. So yeah, if Lye win that, obviously that closes the gap only to 2 points then, and things start to get very, very tense at the top of the table. Looking slightly further down, Shifnal were one of those teams that started really well. They were pushing Lye and Kiddy all the way from the start of the season. However, that you look at the gap now, they have trailed off, and it looks like they're not going to really be in that promotion story come the end of the season. And then looking down, it's very, very close, but potentially nothing really to play for a lot of these teams. As you can see, all the way from 7th in Alvechurch with 19 points down to 10th with Leap Town in 18 points. So that's obviously 4 teams separated by just 1 point. However, it's not looking likely that they'll be in any sort of danger, any of those teams, because your 2 relegated sides, Solihull Sporting, well, potentially relegated sides, sorry, in the relegation zone as it stands, Solihull Sporting and Knoll, they don't really look like they're going to be climbing out. Solihull Sporting potentially, they have those games in hand compared to Knoll, but it's looking unlikely. There's a lot of good teams in and around that mid-table as well. So for them to be dragged down to there, it's not looking that likely. And with Knoll, I think the story is pretty much over. I think if those teams with 18 points, if they get one more win, any of them get one more win, I think they are definitely down. So yeah, could well be this weekend for Knoll, unfortunately. Their only win coming against Shrewsbury earlier on this season. So yeah, as I say, it's very, very tight, very interesting. And it's definitely all to play for at the top of the table, but perhaps not at the bottom of the table. In terms of standout players, this is a stat that may blow some minds, and I want to hope that the people inputting the data at full time have got this correctly. Camden Court, obviously you can see them sitting in 4th place. There, I presume striker Jessica Lundy has scored a massive 34 goals in 17 matches, which, if you do the maths, is 2 goals a game on average. So she has absolutely smashed it. She's more than double of the second highest goal scorer in the league. So she's done really, really well. Like I say, I hope those stats are correct, because she will definitely be angling for a move up the pyramid if that's the case. And so like I say, all eyes on Thursday now. I'm going to be there. Going to be supporting Kiddy, because obviously I've got the relations with a lot of the players and obviously Andy and the coaching staff. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing occasion, and I can't wait for it.
Well, I mean, John Foster could never manage the quick maths that you just managed there. So well done, Kieran. I can confirm as well that currently at this very moment in time, as we speak, Port Vale are at home to Leek. They are playing one of their many games in hand there, Port Vale, and they are currently 2-1 up. Port Vale, they did concede an equaliser, but within a minute of the equaliser going in from Neat Town, Port Vale took the lead again through Holly Bailey. So there we go. Port Vale currently facing Neat Town, and it is 2-1. Still 0-0 over at Chester Street, is it, Gareth?
Let me just refresh Twitter.
Come on, you know you can
Already
refresh.
gone
Honestly,
on.
could you just imagine this on Soccer Saturday? So, Mertz, what's happening at Arsenal? Hang on a second. Let me just refresh Twitter.
Yes, Chester Street have taken the lead with a penalty.
Ooh.
56 seconds ago. So bang on with your timing there, Barry.
Literally, if you go straight on to it, it's a minute delay, so you might see the penalty get taken. So there we go. But there we go. Look at this. It's like Soccer Saturday on a Wednesday for the lower down leagues. Maybe that's a show. Who knows? Maybe. Have a little think.
That's tricky because on a Sunday we would both be at games.
Yeah.
Imagine. Yeah, we can get some other minions to do that. Maybe one day when we get big and famous. Right, what else have we got there? So yes, that's the West Midlands. Not really too much to add. A very thorough and comprehensive thing there. I would just add Kidderminster, I think, probably the best team out of that league so far. I mean, you look at the pressure they've had just in their last two games to beat Camden Court and Lye Town. That's not easy at all. You know, that's top four teams that they are facing, and they've managed to sneak past them. If they can get the win against Lye, you've got to think that is game over as far as that's concerned. But of course, Shifnal not out of it completely just yet, mathematically, but morally and ethically, probably. So there we go. I say ethically as if they've done something terrible. They haven't. Other than just not getting enough points. So there we go. That's done. Let's move on before I get myself a lawsuit. Right. ERWFL Premier, the Eastern region, the place that I like to call home. Not too much to change really here, apart from the bottom of the table, really. So we will update you. Royston have not had too much to do other than defeat Watford Ladies Development 5-0 away from home in order to ensure they maintain their brilliant streak of wins in this league. They did also at this weekend have a County Cup final, the Hertfordshire County Cup final against Stevenage. What a game that was, by the way. Royston took the lead 3 times and Stevenage pulled it level 3 times. And with minutes remaining of the match, Royston with a cheeky little header at the death. And Royston lift their second consecutive County Cup in Hertfordshire, having lost 4 previous finals, not in a row, but over the course of the last few years. So Royston really in a little bit of a period of dominance, both in Hertfordshire and, as it stands, the Eastern region. But Luton can still catch them. We tell you this each time. There are 3 games in hand to be played. That is 9 cheeky little points to be won, and that would put them 2 points clear of Royston. They're doing all the right things, but they are squeaking past people at the moment with Wroxham and Dussendale and Hellersden. They won both of those games, but 3-2. So really interesting running that we've got there. Royston, all of their games that they have left to play are at home. So they've got 5 games remaining, and every single one of them is a home game. So interesting little running for them, whereas Luton have obviously got 3 more to go. And they will be about to enter very shortly a period of time where they have to play, I think it was 6 games in 16 days, which is just a phenomenal number and something that might catch up with them in the end. And if it does, could lead to Royston Town becoming champions. Stevenage defeated Needham Market in their banner game at the Lamex Stadium. It was lovely to see them there. 586 hardy souls braved a relatively wet Sunday afternoon in a competitive attendance record for Stevenage. So great news there for them to get the 2-0 win. Technically, mathematically, Stevenage not entirely out of this discussion, especially seeing as how they have to face both Royston and Luton. But of course, even with those wins, if they were to get them, it would still be a situation for Royston because they would have to muck up a different match as well. So Royston and Luton are very much in the driver's seat there, but Stevenage will have a say in where that title goes. Haringey couldn't be bothered to play any games. I tell a lie. They couldn't be bothered to play because they've won 18 games and they've played too many, and there's other teams trying to catch up. So nothing for Haringey. St Albans and Wroxham did not do a huge amount. St Albans drawing with Enfield and Wroxham defeating St Albans by a goal to nil. As well as their loss to Luton. Cambridge, however, cheeky little win against Enfield, 1-0, has put them above Needham Market on goal difference. And this is a huge end of season now because actually Enfield, Dussindale, Watford, Lady Development and Bowes and Pitsea could all still potentially get themselves pulled into the mire, which is a bit of a nightmare for them. So, yeah, lots still to happen here in the Eastern region. Games coming up on the 6th of April this weekend. Royston are at home to Haringey. Not a given by any stretch of the imagination. Just depends which Haringey turns up. Is it the 9-game winners or is it the 9-game losers? Probably won't be a draw based by how Haringey's season has gone. So they can have a massive say in what goes on. And I've got to be honest, a win for Haringey would at least open up this league just a little bit. You have to feel if Royston win that, it's just looking like they will be invincible for the season. Wroxham will be facing Luton again, this time at home. Again, not a given. They only just beat them 3-2 in their own backyard. So it'll be very interesting to see how Luton get on after what is quite a long coach journey. Stevenage will be playing Dussindale and Hellersden, who will be in the same situation as FC United and Manchester, Gareth, because that is their last game of the season in the league. So they'll be putting their feet up after that and hoping that they don't get dragged down towards the bottom. And Enfield will be facing Cambridge, which is, of course, massive for Enfield. If they get the win, they can ensure safety. The 13th of April, more big results there. Royston will have to play Cambridge, who are still fighting for their lives. So, again, not a given. Enfield will play Luton, which you have to feel will probably be a much easier game for Luton than they have had. St Albans will be at home to Stevenage, and Watford Ladies Development will face Needham Market. So loads happening over the next couple of weeks down there at the bottom. Haringey went out of the Capital Cup this fortnight. They lost to the Arsenal reserves 5-1. So that's them out of there. Luton were also in a County Cup final, the Bedfordshire County Cup final, but they were playing Real Bedford, who are in Tier 4 and the champions-elect, looking to enter the Southern Premier next season. It didn't go well for Luton. They ended up losing 5-0. I suppose really the last things to talk to you about here were, again, the goal scorers, because I thought it's quite interesting just to shout out a few people here. Emma Slater is the number one goal scorer. She is from Royston. She's had an absolutely superb season, 30 goals from 24 games. She scored as well in the County Cup final against Stevenage. So quite a season this season for Emma Slater, and she'll be looking to see if she can switch that on as well if she goes up to Tier 4 with Royston. Shauna Harvey is the second highest goal scorer, 25 goals from 15 games. That's for Haringey Borough. And Natasha Fenson, one of the most legendary strikers I've seen at this level, with 21 goals from 24 games for Luton. But this is a woman who is, I would imagine, it's been a while since I went through her goal scoring record, but I would imagine she's on over 200 goals in probably about 150 appearances across numerous different teams. She just, wherever she goes, scores goals. Was, of course, instrumental in Real Bedford's ascent to the WNL last season, scoring goals for fun there as well. The last ones I wanted to shout out were the opposition player of the matches, because as I'm sure you guys are aware, we, at the end of every single game, have to put out there an opposition player of the match, somebody who we think on the opposition has played well. And I found it quite interesting because a few players in the Eastern region who had it numerous times. One of which is Shauna Harvey. She's had it 7 times again for Haringey, so doing incredibly well. Wroxham's Bryony Williams also had 7 opposition player of the matches, but it's Cambridge City's Faith Harrison who has walked away with 9 opposition player of the matches. And just something I found really interesting there, because you look at someone like Emma Slater banging in the goals for fun, but doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to be the ones that are chosen as the player of the match. So there we go. We have covered it all there. So we are. That's it. Go on.
Just a quick question, Barry. In a word, who do you think wins that league?
What, Eastern region?
Yeah.
Royston.
Oh.
Interesting.
I just think, and I know you said in a word, I just think they have consistently managed to dig out results at times when I'm sure they will not mind me saying they weren't the better side on Sunday in terms of creating chances. I think Stevenage were the side that were putting the ball down, trying to create the chances more. They were incredibly strong defensively. So even though they were trying to create the chances, they were few and far between. To be fair, Stevenage hit the post from a free kick just after it being 3-3, could have been 4-3 Stevenage, and Royston trying to catch up. But what Royston do is they force you into making mistakes and errors and fight their way around you that way. So I just think they're very tough. And the main reason I think it is because I fear for Luton. They've got too many games too close together, whereas Royston's are all spread out. And because Royston's are spread out, they've got that time to relax, recuperate, do what they need to do. Royston, when you've got Luton, when you've got games one after the other, it's tricky at this level because you only get a couple of training sessions. So you can't really address what happened in the last game because you're immediately into the next game. Can be a bit tricky. Injuries obviously might abound as well. We hope not. But yeah, so I just got a feeling it's going to be Royston this year.
I think the thing as well with that is if you're playing lots of midweek games, people have got work. Like availability, I think for midweek is trickier, especially if you've got a longer trip. And that Eastern region is a substantial kind of sized region. So, yeah, that's fair. And you gave it to me in a word. You then just justified it afterwards. So, well done.
I felt like I had to because there is context.
You look in pain having to decide, though.
Well, yeah, because anyone who watches our sister channel Wolf United will know that I'm an incredibly optimistic person. So in my head and my heart, I'm still sat there thinking, well, Stevenage got an outside shot here, so anything could happen. But if you're asking me to sit there and put it on footballing prowess of 43 years of watching the game, you'd be a fool to bet against Royston, I think. But the dreamer inside of me obviously is still hoping, because that's what football's all about, right? Like, what's the point in being part of it if you can't dare to dream? Kieran, it's been a pleasure to have you back on. Where can people find you should they wish to follow you on social media, if indeed you want to do that?
Yeah, check me out if you want, if you fancy it. I'm Kieran Jones 02, I think, on most things. Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff going on, so if you want to have a look. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, there we go. Pleasure to have you back on. Don't leave it so long until we see you again. Gareth, I'm sure we will see you again next week. We'll be back on tier 4, I think, next week. But to be honest, the next few weeks, it's a bit odd. There's like minimal games going on, so we might well make next week a bit more of a topical conversation. We shall see. But either way, next Wednesday, we should be back here for another Lower League Lingo. And it will be, Gaza, Lower League Lingo episode 30. I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit proud of that, the fact we've managed 30 pretty much on the trot.
As old as me.
There you go. Give it 13 more weeks, it'll be as old as me. So there we go. What a result, and what a way to leave it. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.